Here's some feedback and ideas I wanted to share with the community of Ghost of Tabor and see if people like it or not, and see if the developers like it or not. First thing we have to talk about is weapon handling. I still don't like it. It feels awkward, it feels weird, but there are reasons on why that is. It's a skill issue. Genetically, anyways. I'm not saying that I'm bad at video games. I've been able to dominate people in Valorant and got to Ascended 3, so I mean, I'm not bad at video games. But I am bad at having arm length, and I think that's one of the issues that I have with this game. That's because if people who have short arms or are short like me, I'm 5'6", and you try to use a long-range rifle, the hand positioning can be a little awkward, so sometimes you have to pull the weapon towards you a little closer. But that does also mean that the rings might be messing up when you try to ADS, and that's why people have a lot of issues with aiming down the SKS because their arms are too short for both controllers to be visible. But even though it is a genetic skill issue, there is a workaround that I think could be very beneficial for the future of Ghost of Tabor. That being multiple hand positions that you can use on the gun so that you are able to shoot the weapon in your own comfortable stance. And a lot of people who are gun fanatics, and especially on YouTube, you can see how each one of them have different ways of holding a rifle. Some of them hold at the mag, like on the mag insert area. Some people hold the barrel. Some people hold a little closer to the barrel, a little bit further. There's just a lot of ways to be comfortable in holding a weapon. And one game in particular that does this well is Bone Lab. Bone Lab, out of all the other games, I think is the only one that has multiple handling points for specific weapons so that you're able to get into a comfortable stance with shooting said weapons. Now, if they were to replace the single point weapon handling system and add multiple points, I think that would benefit a lot of people into shooting weapons differently in their own way. And it also adds a little bit of style to it because a lot of games out there don't really give you an option to hold weapons differently. It's always the same. You hold a weapon however the character is built to be holding the weapon for. But in VR, it's different because a lot of people have different variations of holding said weapons. And the second thing I think about weapon handling is grenade tossing. I don't know what it is. It feels really weird and awkward to toss a grenade, like flash grenades, regular grenades, impacts. See, I've always wanted to use smoke grenades, impacts, flash grenades in this game, but the issue is just the way that you toss grenades. It just feels very awkward, and I wonder if they know about this. And if they don't, I would like to let them know that it feels very awkward to toss grenades. And I think a lot of people might feel the same way about that. Let me know in the comments down below. So maybe it's just me and that's just, skill issue. All right, let's talk about the second thing. I think more mobility in this game would be very good for VR, and especially for Ghost of Tabor. I feel like mobility in VR games are a little bit hard to get a grasp on because there's so many ways to move in VR. You can use the sticks on the controller, you can use your arms to sway it back and forth. Other people like the teleporting one. But in general, there's a lot of ways to do mobility, and if there's one game that I like so far with its mobility is Breachers VR. Now this game, I'm gonna say this, I really enjoy climbing over stuff like fences, windows. Being able to grapple down and then bust through a window with your feet is the coolest thing I've seen in VR. Ghost of Tabor is very lacking in mobility or accessibility to mobility, and I mean that in a sense of like different ways to maneuver over stuff or different ways to crouch. For example, again, another feature I would like to see in Ghost of Tabor is variable crouching. That way people can have a better chance to crouch at their, at a certain, I would say, level that they want to be at while sitting down and playing games. Now, obviously, when you're standing up, you can crouch and do whatever you want because you have that vertical access versus when someone is sitting down, you can only really move forward, backwards, or like lean left and right. So when you crouch, you only have a button to press to crouch either fully or not at all. And I would like to see that change to be much more of a variable crouch. That way it gives much more depth and diversity in fighting other people. And then comboing those up together with climbing and then also with crouching, there's gonna be so many areas that people will like be at. For example, I can imagine someone being in the back of a truck just waiting at the extract point and just wanting to extract camp, or hide in a bush and only crouch halfway so you can still see above the branches, but you're still below enough to cover your body for camouflage. Like, stuff like that I think would be really cool to see. Oh, and obviously I think proning would be a cool feature, but I feel like proning in VR is it's a weird thing to get right, because I think, if I recall, it's either Contractors or Pavlov has actually added proning into the game, but people said they had motion sickness whenever they did proning. So I don't know if there's a way to get around that, but I will say, if they do add proning, I think it would also add in a lot more depth in the mobility part of the game. Alright, the third thing I think would be cool to see in Ghost of Tabor is gun mounting. I think this is a needed feature. This is 100% needed. And the reason why I say this is because there's not that many games out there that allow you to actually mount your gun anywhere so you can reduce your recoil fully. It's either you hold it in your hands or you put it in your holster. And even if you were to try to use, like, I would say, for example, a fence where you put the gun underneath the fence so it can reduce the recoil, it's a little difficult to handle that well. So that's why I'm thinking add in gun mounting, so that people who want to use, say, for example, a sniper rifle don't have to hold it up onto their shoulders 24/7, and they can place it down on the fence, hold light tower, and shoot people from across the way. It doesn't even have to be on the floor either. It could be mounted on a windowsill, it could be mounted on a tree, the floor. Like, I think that stuff, and adding ways to be able to make recoil reduced, but at the expense of you not being able to move at all, I think that would be a very cool feature. All right, number 4, and this one's a big one. Remove fog. A lot of the times whenever I see someone use a sniper rifle scope, I think to myself, why don't you just use an ACOG or that hollow sight with the 2x magnification on it? Because there's no real reason to have a scope in this game because of the fog distance not allowing you to see super far to be able to shoot people from like 500 meters away, or 400, or even like 700 and above, right? Besides that, a lot of games that do have fog in their game really are missing out on the beauty of their game. When you add in fog, it adds in that depth, people like to say, but I think removing that would actually benefit a lot more because it gives much more of a clear sight. Now, I would say the only exception to this rule is the weathering. If they added in like a weather system in the game, then you can add in fog and stuff like that. And I think that would be really cool because it would give much more diversity in going into raids and seeing what you need to bring or not bring into the raid. All right, the 5th idea is bring back the hands-only IKs. In my opinion, having immersion does not mean that I always need arms that don't work with my arms in real life. And I don't like seeing VR games add in arms because a lot of the times they don't accurately represent your elbows or your forearms or your biceps or tricep area, and they don't Oh man, I'm fucking struggling saying words right now. Jesus Christ. You get the picture though. I would like to see hands only because it gives much more of an immersion for me personally, because it allows me to think of where my elbow is at. I'm actually reaching into the box, and it's subconscious in my brain that I know my elbow and my body exist, but to be able to do that in VR and seeing it, it just kind of throws me off a little bit. And that's it. Oh, I was running out of breath there. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And next video, by the way, is going to be about Into the Radius. I got a key from one of the developers recently, and I'm super stoked because, again, developers are talking to me, which I don't think is the normal, but I'm excited either way. And by the way, one more thing before I go. If we reach 1,000 subscribers on the channel, I will do a 24-hour live stream of me playing Ghost of Tabor. Now, originally I said I'm going to be taking a break from Ghost of Tabor, but if that goal is met and it is broken, I will play Ghost of Tabor for 24 hours. I'm going to say it right now, it's probably going to be one hell of a ride if I do it, but I think it'd be fun. And obviously, I'm not going to play it exactly 24 hours because my headset can't charge fast enough for me to be able to do that, but I would like to be able to try and, take little breaks in between, talk with chat, maybe play some other games in the meantime. I want to do a 24-hour stream, but mainly it's going to be Ghost of Tabor. But anyways, enough of me yapping. I'll check you guys all later. Deuces. Take care, everyone.